Hello guys, welcome to this video. So the purpose of this video will be to explain you the talents that you're going to be using in PvP as a Resto Shaman. Yeah, let's just jump straight into it. On the very first row here, the tier 1 row, you have the choice between going torrent and undulation. Basically, in most cases, you want to run torrent because you are also running Echo of the Elements, which these two talents have great synergy. So what this does is that it increases your initial heal from Riptide by 30%. 30% put into context is a lot, considering you always use Riptide on cooldown. Considering you have 2 charges of Riptide, 30% is a huge number of your total healing. So you want to go with this one. You never go with Unleash Life. Unfortunately, it's not in meta right now. It was in the meta back in MOP and VOD, but now Torrent and Undulation are much more superior. And Undulation, every third healing wave or healing surge you cast heals additional 50%. This is good if you are... I would say this is good if you are tunnel healing someone. If you're having to cast healing surge or healing wave a lot. So say that you're facing someone with a lot of tunnel damage, someone on your team or yourself is getting tunneled a lot. You want to be using this one because if someone is getting tunneled, you're obviously always spamming out those heals, those costs, instead of just riptiding everyone and stabilizing. So I guess a general tip here is go torrent if you're facing someone who multi-dots. If you're facing warlock, shadow priest, unholy DKs who has spread pressure, ferals, you want to be using this torrent because you're riptiding everyone, keeping 3 riptides up if you're doing trees. Yeah, go torrent in that case. In other cases, go undulation because, like I said, you want to heal the people getting tunneled. So, yeah. Basic summary of this first row. Against spread pressure, go torrent. Against people who tunnel you or someone on your team, go undulation. So, next tree here is you have Gust of Wind, Graceful Spirit, and Windrush Totem. In PvP, especially in PvP, you basically never spec away from Gust of Wind because it gives you great mobility. It's one of the bigger strengths with Resto Shaman. To have this talent is crucial in most situations. You can use it in very niche situations. Say that someone is, let's say you're being tunneled by a DK. You get distance from him, and enough distance so that he grips you. And after, very important to note, after he has used his grip, you can just use Gust of Wind to get away. So it's a very nice way to get out of any gap closer. It's a very nice way to, get yourself into good position, get yourself line of sight, or you can use it offensively. You can use it to gust and interrupt someone with your wind share. You can gust behind a pillar defensively. You can gust anywhere you want to, because positioning yourself with a shaman is extremely important, and I believe more so than other classes, because a shaman is very I should say a very it's very dangerous if someone is tunneling you. So you have to always have the upper hand by having a good position. Gust of wind, like I said, use it defensively. Use it offensively. Leap in, get a wind share on someone. Leap out of gap closers. Leap behind pillars. Leap to line of sight. Leap to kite. I mean, yeah. This can be used in many ways. Just be creative. As for these two other talents, I would never spec Windrush Totem. It is a freedom, but not having Gust of Wind feels very scary. So you want to have this talent for yourself. Graceful Spirit, that's a PvE talent, so I'm not gonna cover that in this video, maybe another time. Okay, so this is your CC abilities on the next row. You have Lightning Surge Totem, you have Earth Grab Totem, and Voodoo Totem. So the general rule in PvP, in 3s, in 2s, in RBG, in all kinds of PvP, you want to use Lightning Surge Totem against casters. Since a root totem is not going to do that much against a caster, he can still cast if he is rooted, so that's not going to do much. But a Lightning Surge Totem is going to stun all the enemies that the Lightning Surge Totem hits. So you want to use this against casters. You want to use Earth Grab Totem against melees. That's pretty much the general rule. There are very niche situations you can be using Voodoo Totem in arena, but the situations are too rare to actually talk about, so I'm just gonna leave that for now. But the general rule for the CC line is you focus on Earth Grab Totem and Lightning Surge Totem. If you meet casters, Lightning Surge Totem. If you meet melees, people who will actually train you, and people who can be rooted, you want to go Lightning Grab Totem, Earth Grab Totem, sorry. Generally, actually, when you're facing, if you have a lot of dots on your team, you don't really want to go Earth Grab Totem because the dots are gonna break the Earth Grab Totem. But I guess melees in general, Earth Grab Totem is a great idea. Some clever ways to use it is, for instance, if someone was right in front of me here and they were in stealth, I can just Earth Grab Totem and it will cancel their stealth if they are next to it. So that's a nice way to use it. But yeah, Earth Grab Totem for melees, Lightning Surge for casters is the general idea. Next, you have Crushing Waves. Riptide grants an additional stack of tidal waves. Ancestral Guidance, which splits your healing and damage, and Deluge, which is a chain heal talent, so we're gonna ignore that. To put it in very simple terms, Ancestral Guidance is something you do for PvE. Crashing Waves, you always go Crashing Waves in PvP. This is a given in every situation. It's unless you're doing RBG and you really want that split healing, I guess you could go Ancestral Guidance for that, but generally go Crashing Waves. So what this does is that when you Riptide, you get an additional stack of tidal waves. And as a Resto Shaman, you're gonna love tidal waves, because what tidal waves does is that your cast time of your next healing wave is reduced by 45%. and your critical strike of your next healing surge is increased by 60%. And this happens every time you Riptide. So now, if you cast one Riptide, you get 2 stacks of Tidal Wave. And you have 2 stacks of Riptide. So you're basically never going to run out of Tidal Wave stacks. And you never want to cast a normal heal without having Tidal Waves, because Tidal Waves is going to buff your heal so much that it's a complete waste to just cast Healing Surge or Healing Wave without this up. And you're always going to have it up by having Crashing Waves. So that is why you should go Crashing Waves. Next, we have basically the defensives in this talent tree. Every one of these are sort of defensives. In PvP, you generally want to go Earthen Shield Totem because it's so strong in PvP, sorry. Earthen Shield Totem is what you want to go. The reasoning behind this is because you can use this in many clever ways. You can use it to keep yourself in combat. You can drop an Earthen Shield. When you're standing inside this ring, the damage you take is redirected, or well, a large chunk of the damage you take is redirected to the totem. So once you're standing in that circle, you can pop it anywhere. You can pop it on yourself, on your teammates, wherever. And once you are in that circle, damage is redirected. And because such a large chunk of damage is redirected in PvP, because of the PvP templates, because of the way stats work in PvP, this will absorb a lot of damage. So popping this is something you basically always do if you are in somewhat minor trouble or big trouble. So say that a rogue opens on you. If you're a shaman, you obviously want to have your totem down, healing stream. You rip that up, earth shield on yourself. And if that's not enough, you pop your earthen shield totem. If that's not enough, you pop your wall, you know. You keep the healing stream up for the damage reduction that you get from it. 13% damage reduction you get from healing stream. You get damage absorbed by the earthen shield totem. Riptide is ticking on you. You have earthen shield on you. You know, you can pop wall if you need to. That's basically, you're pretty safe, basically, in other words, if you're standing inside this talent. Make sure that if you're dropping earthen shield totem on your teammates, make sure that you always call it out if you're on communications, if you're communicating with them, because it's kind of hard to spot sometimes. So just say stay in the earthen shield. You drop it on them, tell them to stay within this line here, this circle, this circle of dirt. I don't know what it is, but yeah. They need to stay inside the circle for this to take effect. So make sure you call it out to your teammates. So the next line, you have Echoes of the Elements, you have Cloudburst, and you have Bottomless Depths. We can ignore Cloudburst because this is a PvE talent, because in PvP it will get killed with one hit and it's not really effective. So you have Echoes of the Elements and you have Bottomless Depths. Both of these talents are in their own way very strong. Echoes of the Elements grants you a lot of things. Okay, it grants you more charges on your spells, meaning 2 charges on your Riptide, 2 charges on your healing stream, and 2 charges on your lava burst. Those are all really important spells that you are using on cooldown, at least Riptide and Healing Stream. Not so much lava burst, but having 2 lava bursts after in a row can actually finish someone off if you have the time to cast. So having 2 charges of Riptide, 2 charges of Healing Stream, 2 charges of Lava Burst is absolutely huge. And you want to go for this talent in every single situation, unless you face a team that's going to take you deep into dampening. And what that means, if you face a team that you know you're going to fight for a long time and your mana is going to be an issue, then you want to use Bottomless Depths. Because if you are using Bottomless Depths, what's good about this talent is that Resurgence is always going to trigger when you heal a target below 60%. So what does this mean? First of all, what is Resurgence? Let's see. I will show you exactly what it does. Resurgence. Your direct heals, critical, refund a percentage of your maximum mana. 1% from Healing Wave, 0.6% from Healing Surge or Riptide, and 0.25% from Chain Heal. So, in other words, your mana, a percentage of your mana, is refunded every time you heal someone below 60% health. And when you fight someone for a long time in arena, you're going to go into dampening, meaning that your heals will be less effective, meaning people will take more damage, meaning that they will probably drop below 60% health a lot. And it's going to require a lot more of you to heal them up. So that's why you want to have this Bottomless Depths talent. If you're facing dampening comps, like I said, comps that you know you're going to be fighting for a long time. So for instance, if you're facing let's say you're doing twos. Let's take the example of twos. You're doing twos, you're playing whatever, and you're facing Resto Druid, Warrior, for instance. You want to definitely be using Bottomless Depths. If you're facing Resto Druid or Healer and a DK, that's going to be a long game and you want to use Bottomless Depths. If you're facing any lock, you know, Affliction and Demonology, you also want to be using Bottomless Depths. So any comp that you're facing that you know you're gonna have a long game against, use this talent. Otherwise, always use this talent, because this is very strong in terms of healing output, and this is very strong in terms of living for a long time, because you basically have unlimited mana. If you heal someone below 60%, you're never actually going to go So this is great. Alright, so the next and the final row, you have Ascendance, you have Wellspring, which is just the biggest meme, and you have High Tide. Okay, so I can explain this row like this. High Tide is useless because Chain Heal is something that we don't use in PvP unless it's RBG. Wellspring has not has actually not been useful since it became a thing, which I guess was in Legion. I think was in Legion, yeah. So Wellspring, never used this. It's just a big old meme by Blizzard. They have tried many times to fix this spell, but to what cost? I mean, It's still just a very terrible spell, so never use this, please. And just stick with Ascendance, because this is your good old healing cooldown. So when you pop Ascendance, what it does is that all your healing will be duplicated and split evenly amongst nearby allies. So let's say that I'm doing trees. Everyone on my team is low because we're facing, say, Affliction Lock or something. I pop Ascendance. I do some big heals. I pop maybe Healing Tide. I pop out some heals. And all my healing now is duplicated. So everyone is getting healed by just me healing myself. And in addition to that, every heal is duplicated. So using Ascendance alongside with as many ongoing healing things as you can is the general tip I want to give you. For instance, actually most people use Ascendance when after they have popped Spirit Link. That's when they usually use Ascendance, because Spirit Link will bring everyone down to approximately 50% health. You know, everyone shares their health pool. That's the big thing about Spirit Link. So after that, you generally want to pop Ascendance to you know, top everyone off and stabilize, and so that you're not sitting on low health all the time. In other situations, you can use Ascendance if you're just healing a single target as well. If it's an absolute emergency and you need just duplicated heals, you can pop Ascendance. But in most cases, the most beneficial use of Ascendance will be to pop it once everyone on your team is really low, either by having used the Spirit Link or by facing something really damaging, like Affliction Lock, Unholy Decay, Ferals, Demonology, people that have a lot of spread pressure. So yeah, that's basically the talents. The way it's set up right now, I would actually go for the way it's set up right now as a default build, and you can change some talents when depending on what you meet. So a quick summary of the talents. You want to run Torrent if you're facing spread pressure, Undulation if you're facing single target. You want to run always Gust of Wind. You always want to run Earth Grab Totem if you're facing melees. You always want to run Lightning Surge Totem if you're facing casters, generally speaking. You always want to run Crashing Waves. You want to run Earthen Shield Totem against every comp you ever face. You want to run Echoes of the Elements if you're facing things that generally require a lot of healing output. You want to run Bottomless Depths if you absolutely need the mana and it's going to be a long game. You want to run Ascendance in every single situation. So this was the talents for PvP. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.
You